This recipe came about because on one Sabbath, I was not planning on attending potluck, and about an hour before we had to leave the house, I was told we were leaving and going to potluck after our church service, and I had nothing to prepare. So I quickly was able to throw this together while I'm flipping pancakes for breakfast. It was a very hectic morning, but we made it out the door on time, and it was a very healthy, nutritious dish to serve not only as a one plate or one bowl dinner, but everybody that tasted it said it was really good. So I thought I'd share that with you this evening. I did utilize my Instapots, and that's the only way that I was able to cook pancakes and make this power salad at the same time. So if you don't have an Instapot, this will be a fast, quick lesson on how to use them. If you do, I might sound like an infomercial, and for that, I'm sorry. So first of all, you need to get your rice and your lentils going. Again, the recipe is either in front of you or it will be on the link below the video. So rice and lentils are both a 2-to-1 ratio, which means for every cup you put in of rice or lentils, you're going to put in 2 cups of water. And in the Instapot, this makes it super easy. So I have 4 cups here. So I'm going to put 2 cups in this Instapot. And when it comes to cooking things like rice, lentils, you do have to measure. So let me clarify my measuring statement at that point. So I have my 2 cups of water in the Instapot, and I'm going to measure out a cup of rice. I will say I joined the Instapot revolution late. It was really very popular during the pandemic. I'm not sure why, because more people had time to do slow cooking, but it really did become popular then, and I didn't join the bandwagon because I didn't want to buy another tool for my kitchen. If you've ever been in my home, you will see that I have every nook and cranny stuffed with every type of tool possible. So with the Instapot, it's super easy. I put my water in, I put my rice in, and now I'm just going to put the lid on, and there's a button that says rice. I'm putting that on, I'm turning off keep warm, and it's going to pressurize for about 5-6 minutes, and then there will be a 12-minute cook cycle, and then it will beep at me, and it will be done, and I will have nothing else to do with it except opening it up when it's done. With the lentils, again, I've already got my 2 cups in there, and now I'm putting in my 1 cup of lentils. Now, lentils, there is not a nifty button on the Instapot for these. I actually had to look it up, and it's 7 minutes, so a total of 10 minutes, 3 for pressurizing, 7 to cook, and your lentils are done. For this recipe, I am using brown lentils. And lentils are extremely high in protein. They have 18 grams of protein in a cup serving. They are full of folate, iron, potassium, magnesium, and they are a great source of fiber. In fact, I was just doing some research on fiber and lentils and their impact on type 2 diabetes, and I found that lentils have the same effect on blood sugar as a legume, a bean. So if you were to eat a half a cup of lentils at the end of your meal, it brings your blood sugar down from your meal and has a positive impact on that. So that's something, if you struggle with blood sugar issues, that's something you're going to want to remember, is to have some lentils or beans and help bring that blood sugar back down. Brown rice is full of manganese and selenium and magnesium, phosphorus, and a lot of B vitamins. And you want to eat brown rice. You don't want to eat white rice. You need that outer covering of fiber. And there's a saying out there, perhaps you've heard it, the whiter the bread, the quicker you're dead. That goes along for the rice too. You don't want to eat white bread, you don't want to eat white rice, because the nutritious part, that shell, has already been removed. And you need that for your body, you need that for the vitamins. It slows down the digestion, it keeps the blood sugar from having this huge influx of sugar into it. So that's going to be really important for anybody watching their sugar intake. All right, moving on. The next longest item for our power salad is our onion. Now, when I started making the recipe for that Sabbath, I was thinking I was going to do a majadra. And then I decided, well, my husband really doesn't like a mejadra, but I already had my onions cooking, and a lot of people don't like raw onions, so I continue to just let them cook. My inclination would have been to put a red onion in, because in a salad, you usually use a red onion. But for this recipe, I caramelized a sweet onion, and you can caramelize onions many different ways. If you put them in a slow cooker overnight, they can caramelize without any added fats. Normally you need a fat to help caramelize it. You could try braising. I have. It doesn't usually get that nice golden color because it doesn't pull out the sugars as much. But you really need to be careful of what fats you use. So any fats today that I use, I'm going to be using extra virgin olive oil. It's one of the healthier fats for you. So to caramelize the onion, I'm just cutting very small, thin strips of onion in a half moon shape. And I'm only going to use half an onion because this is going to be for a recipe for 4 people. And unless you really, really like caramelized onion, which I do, you really don't need a whole onion. And I still don't need a whole onion. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to use a tiny, tiny, tiny drop of olive oil because I want it to have that little nice crisp on it. And I do mean I literally put in 1/8 of a teaspoon. So the rest of it, I'm going to be using water. Making sure my Instapots are cooking, they are going, and I'm putting water in. The difference between sauteing and braising is the medium. Sauteing, you're using a butter or an oil. Braising, you're using water. So we're gonna get this going. It's on high. I'm using a heat-proof silicone spatula. For those of you that don't know, if your spatula is colored, it usually means it's heat safe. If it's not colored, if it's just white, you can't use it in the heat. So that's going to go. And while this is cooking and while the rice and the lentils are going, I can chop my vegetables for the salad. I can prep another dish to go with the salad if I want to. So it really takes away the main ingredients really are off to the side and I don't have to pay attention to them. So I'm going to cut up some zucchini. Again, for 4 people, I don't need such a big zucchini. I was not able to get into my garden in the last couple of days, and as a result, we have mammoth zucchinis. So you just want to cut them up as bite-sized pieces. When I'm serving this to a small group, I would make it as a buffet, and when you go to get your food tonight, you'll see it is set up as a buffet. However, if I'm serving it to a large group of people in a potluck, I would pre-assemble because it's just faster getting people to go through line. So I've cut up a partial zucchini. I'm going to put in some tomato. Cherry tomatoes, I just cut them in half. Being a mom, I worry about a whole cherry tomato in there because some people like whole cherry tomatoes, but I worry about choking. So I try to cut them in half. If you've ever had to shove your fingers down one of your kids' mouths to flip something because it's stuck the wrong way, you can understand. As a teacher, I had a student that couldn't eat cheesy fries without choking. And in the time I taught him, performed Heimlich 3 times. All right, now we've got a cucumber. Cucumbers are so nice in this hot weather. They really help restore electrolytes. They're very low in calorie, as are all vegetables. But it's that electrolyte balance that you really want in the hot sun. Often I'll go out to the garden when my husband and I are working and find him eating one of our cucumbers as an electrolyte bringer. Then we've got some sweet peppers. Again, you'll see I'm using lots of color in this salad. As a plant-based diet, you want to make sure you're eating a rainbow because those rainbows represent nutrients that are in each item that you're putting in your body. Different sources, different amounts of vitamin C are all dependent on the colors in the peppers. All right, let's see, what else am I putting in here? Walnuts. I want some crunch. Now, a lot of people will just put croutons on their salads, and that's okay, But most croutons are made with white bread, with vegetable or canola oil, not extra virgin olive oil. They're high in sodium, so you really have to be careful what crunchies you put in. If I'm going to put a crunchy in, I'd rather be able to get other minerals from it, so I'll use a nut, sometimes an almond, a lot of times a walnut. And you just have to be careful that you're not taking in too many nuts because they do have a higher fat content. And I'm just going to chop those up. We blew a fuse. For dinner tonight, I did pre-make the lentils and the rice, so we're going to let those just stop so that we can have the onions braising. So just a quick chop on those. If you notice, I'm making everything bite-sized pieces. And it looks like it's time for, olives. I would normally put olives in here. I use the Lindsay undyed. They're called a natural black olive because I don't want that extra dye in my body. It's not natural. It's full of sodium. By taking that out, you're removing one extra chemical that you really don't need. And I find they taste better. They have a little nuttier flavor. And the dye, I don't like the taste of the dye. So far we have lots of color in here. Notice I left the skin on the zucchini, but I did peel the cucumbers. Sometimes the peel on a regular cucumber upsets stomachs, and I didn't have an English cucumber, which would not need to be peeled. So that's why that one's peeled. The zucchini skin has lots of nutrients in it, so if you can tolerate it, you're going to want to eat the skins on as many vegetables as you can. All right, so we're waiting for our onions. We have rice and lentils that are pre-made over here, but I tell you, 7 minutes on the lentil, and it's a perfect lentil out of that Instapot. 12 minutes on the rice, again, you have perfect brown rice. We're going to make our salad dressing. So our salad dressing is a cup of olive oil. And this will make salad dressing that will last you a week. So if you want to cut down, just divide everything in half or even in a quarter. So we have a cup of olive oil. We're going to do a cup of lemon juice. And then everything else in the recipe is mainly a teaspoon. So we have, this is Old Bay. Old Bay has a great combination of seasonings in it, but it can be high in salt. So you'll notice that everything else doesn't have salt in it. I didn't put salt in with my lentils. I didn't put salt in with my rice. Too much salt is not good for you, but also you have to have salt because too little upsets your your heart rhythm. Especially if you're sweating a lot for the day. That's why those sports drinks can't come out and they say that, like Gatorade is great, but if you get plain Gatorade, it's high in sugar and high in salt. So you just have to be very careful with how much you're intaking. We've got smoked paprika. What I just put in was garlic. Now we've got the smoked paprika. It's very different than a regular paprika. So if you're doing a Hungarian dish or a Polish dish and it calls for paprika, you don't want the smoked paprika. You actually will want Hungarian paprika. So that was onion powder. You may notice that I'm really not using powder. I'm using granulated. I like the flavor of the granulated better. It doesn't matter which one you use in your home. So we have oregano here. Then I have 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. And again, as I said, I estimate. Even the teaspoon, this is actually half a teaspoon, but I rounded it up. So I cook by taste. Honey, it's supposed to be our 2 tablespoons. Again, I'm going to err on the side of caution. 1, 2, and you whip it together. You always want to sample if you're not cooking with exact measurements, and probably even if you are, you always want to taste something before you serve it to somebody else. I was trying out new ways of making a vegan loaf the other day, and I passed a sample to my eldest son, and he goes, "Has great flavor. Can we call it stuffing loaf?" He says it tastes just like Thanksgiving stuffing. And I said, well, I can't serve it at dinner with the doctor because then it needs mashed potatoes and gravy. And he's like, this is true. So we decided not to do stuffing gravy, but it may end up on our table at a later date. While we're waiting for the onions, and they're almost done. Now, some people, I know a lot of people that don't really know how to tell when an onion is fully cooked. If you're braising, the water is gone, and then the onion has a little golden color. The onion should not have any crunch to it to be fully cooked. In fact, I used to cook for elementary school hot lunches all the time, and the students swore they never ate an onion, and I put onion in everything. So if it's cooked right, they don't know what's there. You can blend it, you can chop it super fine, you can hide it in things, and people will never know it's there because they won't be able to see it, but they'll know if it's missing. That's the big key. All right, so we also have a dessert for this meal. We have coconut chia pudding, and that recipe is on the back of your recipe card. It's right here, and there are many different ways of making this chia pudding. A lot of people will put a sweetener in it. I don't. I try to let my fruit be my sweetener, and it's very simple. Chia, if you have never used chia, now some of you may be thinking of chia pet. If you're over 40, you know that theme song. And I remember having chia pets advertised on TV, and you'd get this black seed, and you'd mix it with water, and you'd paint it on a terracotta structure, and it would grow sprouts. And then you could use those sprouts in your salads or on a sandwich. Chia sprouts are very tasty, and they're very nutritious. But we never started using them until the past 10 years. And chia is a great substitute for egg. It's a wonderful binder and thickener. And if you haven't tried it, you really should. I put it in my granola when I make granola. I put it in water and use it in breads if I need an egg base of some kind. And it works wonderfully. But you're also getting extra fiber from the chia, and you're getting those little bits of nutrients. And it really helps the digestive system to have those seeds in there. If you've been told by your doctor that you need to avoid things with small seeds because they don't get broken down, then you should also consult your doctor about the chia seeds before you try to use them. All right, let's read through the recipe. 4 tablespoons of chia seeds, a cup of coconut milk, light variety. The light variety, let me see if I have that option up here. This is the light coconut milk. Today we are just using what's called coconut cream, and there's nothing else added to it. It just has more of the fat in it. When I made this recipe for the group, I used a combination because the coconut light was, for some reason, really, really thin, and it was a lot thinner than I was used to. So for this demonstration, I'm using coconut cream. I'm going to use 1 cup, and you're going to get to watch this just thicken up before your eyes. And then we're going to use 4 tablespoons of the chia seeds, and this is for a serving of 2 people. That's 2. That's 4. I'm just going to stir it up, and we're going to set it aside. If you wanted to, you could add a dash of vanilla. If you wanted to sweeten it, you could put in some coconut sugar, or you could put in a little tiny bit of honey. But again, I think the fruit on it is sweet enough. Okay, we're still cooking, which is great. All right, and that's just going to thicken up. So we have our lentils, our rice. On our salad, we're going to use romaine lettuce. You can also use a butter lettuce. I don't recommend head lettuce. Head lettuce doesn't have a whole lot of nutrients in it. So we're just going to chop it up. It'll go on the plate. And as I said, I have some pre-made lentils and rice put together. Now, fortunately, when I was making this, we had several hours before it was going to be served. So when I took the hot lentils and rice out, I threw them in a pan, and I brought them to church and threw them in the fridge. You want these items cold when they go on the salad. This is not a hot salad. So I have brown rice and lentils going on. You don't have to use a cup. You can use whatever you think is enough for you. And then we're going to put on our veggie toppings. We're going to, again, whip up our salad dressing again. If you use a blender, it stays emulsified a little bit longer, and it really makes that lemon juice blend with the olive oil. Again, we're just drizzling. You don't need to have your salad swimming. It's just to add flavor because you don't have seasonings and anything else except that dressing, so those vegetable flavors are really going to pop out. And then you have your lovely meal, which I would serve with a slice of whole wheat pita bread. And actually, one slice is a lot. You can see they're quite big, and this salad is extremely filling. So I would recommend serving your family a quarter at a time, and then you would have your dinner. Do we have any questions? These onions are going to keep going because we had that little power outage. I'm not sure how long they were out, but we'll just let them go for a little bit longer. Do we have any questions? Other than that, what was that, Dr. Kelly? You can take it home with you, or you can eat it here. That's totally your option.